All right, this is Rico with Keeping It Real, and I'm here with two special guests from our community. And a lot of you guys don't know this, but breaking is one of the original hip hop styles. If it wasn't for breaking, hip hop would not exist. It's an art form. It's an incredible style of dance, and that's breaking. A lot of people know this as breakdance, but the right terminology is breaking. And I'm here with Kotaro and Sasha Fox. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for
Awesome.
having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. So you guys been in the community for a long time. Can you guys tell me a little bit about yourselves? How you got into breaking?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got into breaking probably 20 plus years ago, 23 years ago in junior high. Just was put into a dance class at my junior high school. I didn't know how to dance then. I played hockey for a very long time. Yeah, so put in this dance class, and then luckily there was two kids there that were just doing like sweeps or coffee grinders, and I was like, oh cool, I want to learn that. And then from there, in my same school, in the same class, I met my best friend / crewmate, Reflex, and he was learning breaking from a different person, and we just connected, and it just grew from there.
That's incredible. How old were you?
13, yeah, 13.
13 years old.
Yeah.
How about Sasha? How do you get into breaking?
I got into breaking when I was 17, and I saw the commercial on TV with Sophia Bautella, and then I just Googled it. Yay, thank you for Google. Found a dance school nearby called Volnarias, and then went there, and that's what kicked it off. And then after school, you do like the public practices and sessions, and then battles, and yeah, the rest is history.
The rest is history. So breaking is like the very first style for you guys both.
Yep.
B-boy, Bgirl. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel to start to learn about breaking? Do you have any mentors? Do you have anybody that guiding you, say this is how you do it, or do you just basically wing it?
Yeah, for us, it was winging it a lot. It was watching, going to like bboy.com or /bboy.org and watching those little quick GIFs. Music videos too, like Run DMC music videos, watching, like, for me it was like watching the strong dancers, so like Cujo, and being like, oh, that's breaking, so I'm gonna try to copy that without understanding technique or anything. Yes, and like eventually we ran into like older guys that were breaking this crew called ESSK, which was like Eclectic Soul Styles crew. They were the first ones to sort of show us like what's beyond breaking, in the sense of like there's all these elements to breaking. And then we did eventually meet like the pioneers of breaking in Calgary, which was the original Rudes, and then Funky Monk's crew was another one eventually. Like it was a couple years into it before we even knew there was even a community or a scene.
Right.
So for the first little bit, yeah, we had to like teach ourselves, and it wasn't good.
That was a good, no, I know, I can relate to that. I have to say I have the same experience.
Different journey for me. So I started with BMT crew. So different crew members taught me. I took classes from them. And then Mafia 13, and then All the Most. So all these like famous Russian crews that taught me. And then, yeah.
So you started breaking in Russia then?
Yes.
When did you move to Canada?
2013.
2013.
So a while back. But they originally started there. And then, yeah. By the time I came here, I already had like, I guess, good foundation background, and then here it was a free swimming in a way.
That's amazing. So when you arrived to Canada, you arrived to Calgary?
Yeah.
So that's the first city. How do you start to connect with the community, breaking community in Calgary? It was easy for you? It was like,
I went to Pulse, and then in Pulse I met Farzam.
right?
Yay! And
Farzam?
Farzam just directed me,
Let's
go to UFC. First practice there. I was there.
Practice here.
So,
So
yeah.
cool. How do you guys come up with the name of the crew?
The Top Rock Conspiracy.
Yes. That's interesting.
It's because like if you look at the members at the time, we were focused on a lot of power and tricks, right, and creativity, and so we're just like it was a joke, but at the same time we're serious. Like we just don't focus on that element of breaking, the top rock piece.
Right.
Obviously, we could do it, but we were just like we're this crew that would come out blazing with power tricks and just that creative style. So we just came up with that conspiracy. Top Rock is a
Top Rock.
conspiracy.
It's a joke, yeah.
It's a joke.
It's a
so,
joke,
so
yeah.
you joined them when it was already the crew was already created. Then you joined the crew, or you guys put it together while you were here.
Well, yeah, I think originally it was like, when was Top Rock Conspiracy?
Top Rock
found?
Conspiracy
No,
came
it's,
after.
It's recent, yeah.
Yeah, it's more recent. You were
Yeah.
part of All Out Crew
All Out
first.
Crew, yeah, and
Before
then-
that, yeah. So, and that was between you, Matt, and then the other members, right?
Kieran and
Yeah.
Kelton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just came later. Like once I knew my other crew, Almighty, we're just like just not active. We haven't been active for so long, and
Right.
I wanted to enter competitions and started to practice with No Love and Sasha Fox here, and yeah, so we just had to come up with a crew name, and
Right.
yeah,
And that's what you guys came out with.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we came up with. Yeah,
They
That's
came
cool,
out
man.
with
It's unique.
yeah, we came up with
You came
yeah.
up with it. It's so unique, man. So how was your first experience in a battle? How do you, because we know that breaking is first and foremost is a battle style. So how do you guys? Well, how was your first experience as a all right? I'm gonna enter a battle. Let's go.
Oh man, I got smoked. I was so eager though because yeah, I love battling. Like you know, you have battles at practice and like you're just battling like a lot of people your skill level, right?
Right.
And like again, we weren't exposed to the broader community, so we didn't know there was a lot of good dancers out there. So we're just like, oh yeah, like at least for me, I think I can be honest and say I had a big ego. I was very like confident.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. And then I entered this first battle, and it's just like that's when I saw original Roots and all these older members of the community. I'm just
Right.
like, holy cow, who are these
It's
guys?
the next level.
Yeah, next level. And then I battle, and this is like I'm not embarrassed to share this story because this is part of my journey. So my very first battle was against a Bgirl named Esther, and man, she took me to school. Like she just like she was top rocking. Her style was so good, and like just you know I had tricks, but like just she smoked me, and then that was a humbling moment to be like, oh, like
All right, I gotta go back to the lab.
maybe I was like maybe this isn't for me, but at the same time too, you know. What was inspiring at the same battle, it was like again it was Reflex's first battle too, watching him, and he made it far, right? And I was like, okay, like he's doing something right. Dang, like I need to do better. So and that's what I like about battling too, like and watching your crewmates do better because then it just motivates you to do better.
To do better.
So then I was like, okay, I gotta go back to the lab. I need to practice.
practice.
Yeah, I need to practice properly.
That's right. So at this point, you already have somebody that mentoring you. Like, you know, how is the practice for you? I mean, I understand. I'm a b-boy myself, first and foremost. But how was you guys' experience? How do you get into practices? Do you, you learn about the history, or you just go full on top rock, go downs, power moves, top like.
Second, I think, for me, public practices started like, yeah, you just go and you see what other people do and you try, repeat them.
And you repeat it.
Yes. And then you bug them. Show me windmill, show me swipe, show me everything.
Yeah, for me, yeah, it's the same thing. Like trying to watch others, but
Yeah.
it was also just like what we thought breaking was,
Mm-hmm.
and just like doing it right. And then like going to practice, it'll be like the first thing I do at practice at that point was just like, all right, I'm just gonna handstand, and it wasn't a good handstand, right? It'd just be like up, down, okay, do it again, up, down, and then like, but like there's
It
no
takes the consistency, right, to like
Yeah.
be able to build the muscle and.
yeah, but when you don't have when you don't have people teaching you and you think you're doing it right, like you learn down years later, like
It takes you longer.
way longer. It took us years. Like it took me, like I could teach a student to learn how to windmill within like maybe a month if it's consistent, right? But like it took me probably like almost 2 years to learn a windmill, right? So like that's the difference.
Yeah. It's. I'm gonna say, how about you?
I think it's the same as Kotaro. For me, it took a long time to get that windmill. So, but now, like, it's again, if a student is dedicated, it will be very
It
fast.
is. It's a style that you really have to be so dedicated, so into it. You got to really dive into it. And otherwise, you're not gonna see the progress. It's not like now you see a little routine. Oh, that looks great. But breaking is a different feel. and we know that. So like, the consistency of breaking, and for the new generation coming up, is this in anything that you want to share with them? They say, you know what, you want to do this breaking. A lot of students of mine, get into breaking. Some of them absolutely love it, but there is, the odd student like, ooh, this is a little bit too much for me. It's hard, right? But that's what makes breaking so cool and powerful. Like, it's just being able to do something so crazy that nobody else can do, and around, right? So is anything that you want to share with them in your experience, or something that, you advise for them to grow?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, first and foremost with breaking, it is hard. But like, just like in life can be challenging. So it's about how much you're willing to put in that work and effort to then get the results that you're looking for, right? And with breaking, when you actually put that effort in, and you see those results, the feeling is amazing. And that's what keeps you going, because you're like, oh, it gives you this confidence of like, I can do more. I can do better. I can do something that I thought I might have not been able to do. So with breaking, it does take time. But at the same time, you have so much now information at your fingertips. You can go on Instagram, TikTok,
Check everything out.
YouTube, and there's so many tutorials out there. You can be like, how do I do this? Even as a mature dancer now, like, I still look at those tutorials now, because I'm now starting to learn technique at this point.
Yeah.
Right. But because you're so young, you have all this information. You can dedicate it to that, right? And you have so much time to develop. And like, yeah. And what's great about breaking is that there are like unspoken rules and guidelines to like how you should dance. But at the same time, it's like, as long as you're putting the essence of breaking into your style, you can create anything. And that's what I love about breaking, is that like, you can legitimately start with somebody, learn the same things, but then put
Your own flavor to it.
exactly.
And
right?
essentially, that's what breaking is all about. You don't want to look like your friend, like in your crew. I see you guys' crew. You all look different, and it's what makes it unique, and it's awesome. It's awesome. That's what I love. Again, about hip hop, nothing to, any choreography, nothing like that. We do choreography ourselves, but at the same time, we try to educate our communities, our dancers, to say, it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
Even in hip hop, even in life feed, even in house, whatever style you're doing. And I take that from breaking.
Yeah.
Being, I don't want to look like my friend when he started to do windmills, and then he's like, nah, I want to do them a little bit better, or coming out of the windmill differently than you, or going into the windmill different than you, make it super fresh.
Exactly.
So no, breaking, man, it's an art form. It was born in the 70s in New York City, in the Bronx. We know the people that, organically came up with this style came from the struggle, a lot of struggles. That's why the style looks so raw at times. That's why the style, is so fresh. People dress so cool and fresh. And now, 50 plus years later, what was your first thought when you hear that breaking was going to be in the Olympics?
Proud.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a great step forward, like, from coming from the streets to then going into something that was globally,
platform.
internationally, recognized. So I thought I was excited when I first heard it.
You were excited.
Excited.
Yeah,
How was
same.
Sasha?
Same. Very proud. And then, like, obviously you want to participate and develop, and pushes you and motivates you. So I was very happy when
You were really happy. That's amazing. So you guys do a lot of work. You do a lot of work with your crew and the community, putting events together. You guys all over the place, always pushing, and the culture in the community, helping out. What was that interaction like with the WDSF? How do you come with it? The interaction with the WDSF to be able to, host these qualifiers for the Olympics.
Well, we had to first like connect with our provincial body, so Dance Sport Alberta, and that's where we made the connection. Our crewmate slash part of the Breaks YYC, Mr. No Love, he joins the board with Dance Sport Alberta, just to ensure that there is a presence of breaking, because that body had no idea what breaking was, even though it's internationally accepted by World Dance Sport, right? When it comes back down to like your local smaller sub bodies, they have no idea what breaking is, and they're questioning like, well, like why is breaking in the Olympics? Why is it one of our ballrooms or partner dances in, right?
Do you remember when I have you guys in a meeting here, and I first had a meeting with them? I was the first person that I had a meeting with the WDSF in Calgary. I went to meet them, the both ladies, and I remember I told you guys I had this bad vibe about this because they have no idea what this is all about, you know, and they make very clear to me that it was just a stepping stone for them to get ballroom.
Oh yeah,
and to the Olympics.
totally.
So for me, that right there was a red flag. But I'm like, well, you guys have to have somebody that is actually from the culture or from the breaking community in here helping you out to do this. So after I kind of say that, I didn't hear back. Then I find out that you guys were working with them together, which is awesome.
Yep. It was actually through like, and it's also because like out east, like Breaking Canada formed too, and then they also got super involved as the Canadian representative for breaking in Canada across. So they started that, right? And then that way, and then we had the connections to them, or they reached out to us to make sure that we're doing stuff within our province. And yeah, like it's so right. Like you can just tell like how the results of what happened, and I'm sure we're going to get to it eventually to talk about everything that's happened with the Olympics. But like you can tell that like because of the results, what happened from pretty much when it was incepted to the Olympics, you can see that because their original intentions was ballroom and trying to use it as a stepping stone, you know, they made a lot of mistakes. And along the ways, like with those mistakes came a lot of consequences of like losing a part of the culture at certain points, losing a part of like real pioneers that were on board. They got off. They didn't believe in it. They decided to, you know, WDSF had some changes in their presidential body, and then they decided to reorganize their sort of breaking representatives, which then like, you know, they put so much work in 1 year, and then that all went out the window, and it changed everything. It changed the format. It changed how dancers were preparing for it, right? To this new format, right? Judging systems, all this stuff, right? It was just like, it wasn't, if people are looking at it from the outside, it doesn't look organized, right? And then you have like obviously what happened at the Olympics and where the attention was drawn away from the Olympics or the breakers in the community because of everything that happened with Ray Gunn, right? And like ultimately, when you think about it, it all comes down to the disorganization of someone who didn't understand breaking, the potential was there for, right?
Yeah.
And like think about like when 1 year in, Red Bull, right? Red Bull was gonna partner up with WDSF, right? And they were just like, let us organize the actual events because they have experience, years
100%.
of experience, right? And then that doesn't happen. Something happened there, right? And so again, it just goes to show, you know, I think with everything,
The lack of knowledge, and
too
it's
much
just
politics,
Yes.
too
too
much
much ego.
Yes, exactly.
So take me back to the process for a dancer. How does your process to get into a qualifier to be able to come into the Olympics? How does that work? How old do you have to be for people to understand what is the process that you have to go through to get to, you know, essentially to the Olympics?
Well, you gotta practice hard to do a bunch of qualifiers. Yes, membership, right? Had 2 memberships, I think. I had one was Alberta, one in like world membership. So that we had to pay like a small yearly fee, right, to keep it up. And then mostly just traveling, qualifying, getting the points, and then there is a ranking system, and based off that, you hopefully will make it to the final, to the stage. Yeah, where was like nationals, right? Also, so we had a Canadian team, right, which is for B-boys and B-girls. So we had like a national ranking system, and then there was a world one too on top of that.
Right.
So there's 2 of them actually, if you think about it. And so I don't know, lots of battles.
Lots of battles.
Long battles too.
Long battles too,
They're not quick. Not like our typical competitions, right?
No,
Long
2 days battles. Yeah.
I think it was like, because you guys would do like your prelims, round robins, like you're doing like almost top 64,
Like-
top
Yeah.
128,
Wow.
right? Like
10 rounds is not enough. Need more.
Wow.
20 something rounds.
was-
You
yeah,
gotta
it's
get
20
really
something.
creative with your style, I mean, with your
Or smart.
or that one too.
Smart was the
You gotta get
system.
smart in this battle. I'm gonna get smart with this battle.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So how do you help the community? How do you? What is the process that you do? What is the I should say what is your role as helping out for the Canadian or the Alberta
Yeah.
breakers
It
to
was-
get into the Olympics?
It was honestly like obviously it was a learning curve, understanding the system, understanding like where dancers needed to go. We left a lot of it in the hands of Breaking Canada to like sort of make sure that they were hosting the national ranking events, or at least connecting with the cities to host it. It's challenging. Those are challenging because there's no funding behind it, right? The funding
Right.
isn't there, so it's up to the cities to then raise the funding to then host these events, which could be very costly because there's criteria, right? You got to have X amount of judges. You need to have certified, and they have to be certified judges, right? So then there's that, and then just all this stuff that just it wasn't in our interest in Calgary. Be like, well, our scene isn't big enough yet to be able to like to do that. So we left it with like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, the bigger scenes, right?
Right.
So then our role was more so both like encouragement and educating our scene on like what if you want to be an Olympic breaker, this is what you got to start thinking about, like not just like how you battle, but like how many rounds you're gonna need just to go, right? But also it's about think about the events to go to, because again, like athletes, and they're in this case because it's Olympics, they're considered athletes. They have to find their own ways to these qualifying events. You know, you're spending money to travel to Rio de Janeiro,
Yes.
or going to like China, right? Like that's
Paris,
like
yeah.
Paris. Like you have to spend your own money to get there. So you got to think about financially.
That was going to be
right?
my next question. Who is it? Any support from Calgary? Is any support from their communities? Like
But what?
you have you on your own.
Yeah, a tiny bit of support, right? Like for us, we supported like we would support our dancers, the ones that we knew that were serious into trying to get there, and we would either make sure that we're advocating to Breaking Canada to make sure they involve these dancers, right? Like at that time, it was Sasha Fox and it was Fresky,
Yeah.
and
Fresky.
those two were the ones that were really pushing it. So then it was our job to really push, encourage them, but also advocate to Breaking Canada, like hey, like you're putting some money into like the guys in the East Coast, right? So like you gotta be fair across the board. We have Canadian dancers that want to get onto this, and they'll make their way. And so like sometimes we'll do our events to then fly them to like a Toronto qualifier, right? And then that's our part, is to get them there, and then it's up to Sasha and it's up to Fresky to like actually do well at those events, to then eventually, if they win it or at least make top 4, then they end up becoming on Team Canada at the time.
At the time. So
yeah.
how far do you get? How far do you get to?
Well, I got on Team Canada. I think I was third, ranked third after Tiff and Emma. And I think in the world I was 30 something, 35th, something like that.
35th in the world.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, that far. So,
So is there any difference you being a big girl? The support from the community, or you feel like it's the same? I mean, you have a great community.
yeah.
It's kind of like a crazy question, but always being a big girl, I feel like it feels a little bit like we don't support them enough, or there's not enough support. Maybe this is something that I kind of like have around the world. But how does your experience as a big girl going into this experience?
I did feel support. I did not feel like I had no support. Definitely, like Top Rock Conspiracy, Kotaro, Nola, Calgary scene, like was very supportive. And to be fair, like Breaking Canada also kind of like in the very beginning there was not much support, but the more you it was ramping up, right? We were getting closer to Olympics. We also got financing, so we got like support there
Nice.
as well. So there was support for sure. So
So what does your family think about you making it that far?
you know, my parents don't know what breaking is,
don't
but
know what breaking
I mean,
is.
they kind of know. But I guess they were like, "Cool, good job."
Good job. Have fun.
Yeah, have fun. So Matt was proud, obviously,
proud, of
right?
course.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was like it was a great experience. I learned a lot.
That's
for
amazing.
Sure.
How was your
Yeah.
preparation to get into the next battle? How long do you have to practice? What was the preparation? look like?
So at some point it was a bit difficult because there are battles like pretty much every weekend, and you
Mm.
had to go fly somewhere.
Mm.
So I don't know. You try to keep like 5-6 times. You try to practice 5-6 times per week. You're trying to combine it with a full-time job. Yay! Stupid decision ever.
Yes.
But yeah, so you go to work, you go to practice, you go to bed, you go to work, you go to practice, you go
You
to
go
bed.
battle.
Yeah. You
Okay.
at the very end, like a physio is important. Do physio.
Did you have to change any diet at all?
Yeah, I had to like drink lots of water. Obviously, no junk food. Like also did physio as well because your body starts like when you're flying every weekend. At some point, you realize, something's not right. My ankles seem to be a little bigger than they was supposed to be. It affects you. So yeah, you realize like, hey, maybe I should not be drinking 2 cups of coffee before I get on that plane, or something salty, and it like changes a lot. The diet changed, everything changed.
How was that full experience for you?
Intense.
Intense.
Yes, it was lots of work. Definitely had a little bit of a burnout afterwards as a outcome because like I said, maybe full-time job and breaking full-time is not the greatest idea on the face of a planet.
Your body will be like super tired.
Not happy.
Not happy at all.
But again, overall, I think did pretty well. And again, experience was amazing. And you inspire lots of people, hopefully. And,
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the community, especially some of the OGs. There's some of the OGs they not think that breaking should be in the Olympics. Some of them supported it. What are your thoughts on that?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand the stance of like you don't want the change because like obviously when the first time breaking was like sort of that globalized or it made into sort of this popularity thing, right? But way back in the day, it killed breaking, right? Breaking at some point technically died, right? So I understand the hesitation there, but I think when you're looking at understanding like changes are needed in order for things to move forward. And in this case, it wasn't about like the current scene. Olympics, like for the current scene, it was great. It was a great opportunity for those who are currently active and they had something to push towards. But I think for OGs to really look at it is like if they want to see growth in something, it starts with our young ones, the youth, right? And I've never like I also come from just like you, Rico, as an instructor in a studio, right? And when kids would take my class, the parents, sometimes typically the dads, would be like, "Well, what's the point of breaking? Like, what's after this, right?" And at that time, it's like I can't really say much, Red Bull and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now I can be like, well, it was and probably going to be an Olympic event here and there. So like there's that for your kid, right? Now there's also like world events and then national events. So and then that would definitely draw more individuals to not just join breaking, like the young ones, but also to stay in it because now there's a purpose, right? Because it's always about that purpose. Like what's the point? And when you're young, you can't just be like, well, it's a creative outlet and, all this stuff. Because it is all this great stuff. The art side is still there. But when you're so young into it, you got to give them something a little bit more tangible. And that tangible was the Olympics. So, again, I understand. OGs, I can understand why they were hesitant. I can understand it. The other side, too, is because, like, everyone couldn't be involved, right? And everyone wanted to be involved. But when they weren't involved, then they sort of feel, like, jaded, right? Like, well, like, why are they picking that OG versus me
over us? Yes.
But that's the politics, right? Because in the end, like people who are involved, they're just gonna pick the people they're closest to, right? Because that's who they trust. But down the road, just let the process happen, and other OGs will get involved. Plus, as someone like myself, like I don't see myself as an OG, but like I was like, well, I want to get involved. I want to make sure that I'm doing a part of this. So part of it was the organization side, but the other side was like I got involved by becoming a certified judge, right? Going through that process, understanding how the judging system works, and then applying it, but also then being able to pass on that knowledge that I learned to the community. Be like, hey, so if you're gonna do this is how the judging system works. So really consider this when you're training and practicing, right?
Right. So the judging system works exactly the same as in the Olympics. Is that correct?
It changed. So there was the original system. Right?
I know that Storm and Renegade worked on that. I was here with Storm and had a conversation, and he told me they're in the development of the judging system. I know they're both working on that, and maybe other people as well involved. But I don't know when that changed.
The change happened when they sort of, like, from my understanding, they pushed Storm and Renegade out, right? And then, I forgot his name, the Korean, is it, yeah, anyways, like when pretty much when the president, like WDSF had a change in their presidents, and then so when the original president that brought breaking into the idea into WDSF, when he sort of retired and stepped down, the new person came in. That's when things changed, and that's when conversations changed, and that's also because they were like, yeah, good questions, right? Like, why are our events low attendance, right? Why is there, we're spending so much money to try to build up this thing to the Olympics. Like, why aren't we getting the results we want? But part of that was just because that was the first year. Buy-in is low because no one knows. There wasn't enough information out there for people to make an educated decision on, like, if I should participate or not, right? Afterwards, yeah, things picked up. But that system, the original system that Storm and Renegade created, I truly, I liked it. I understand the biggest flaw to it was that it was a little complicated, so that when you're judging, it's hard to, like, pay attention to what's happening on the dance floor, because as a judge you need to be paying attention, right? Yeah. But then you have this system in front of you that's a little bit complicated, a little bit.
So what is the criteria like? What is, in a regular battle, you're looking for style, you're looking for technique, rawness, musicality, all of these things. What does that judging system look like?
Just like that, right? You're looking for, like, creativity, the dynamics, composition, like the tricks and execution, right? And they do it as a scale, right? But when it was and then they also had other buttons for, like, crashes, repeats, biting, right? And disqualification, like, in the sense of, like, if you're, like, you accidentally touch somebody, right? So they have all these other buttons that then scale it for you, right? Which is great. But it essentially it's a scaling system, which I love that idea, because that's how I trained as a breaker. Is just like, if I'm going to go round for round against somebody, I need to make sure my round is better. How do you gauge that, right? By the scale, right? But then in this case, it just gave you those criteria to sort of work towards, right? And then it switched to then just being these 5 criteria, and, like, they sort of made adjustments to those criteria. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but so that it just became 5 scales, just boom, 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 boom.
So we know we know that always is going to be biasness and battles, no matter what style you're doing. Do you think that system helped to eliminate that, or do you think they're still being able to have the biasness?
This is why I truly appreciated Storm's approach. Because when we took his, like, when he ran the course for judges to learn, before we even got into the system, he made sure that we understood we had bias, and that's how he created the system, was trying to eliminate that bias. But the first and foremost, the most important thing was that he had a conversation with us around, like, okay, bias, where does it come from? And then, really, if you truly, like, understood what he was talking about, then you're supposed to take away from that and continue to make sure that you understand what your biases are. I'm lucky because I come from a world where I constantly come from questioning and reflecting on, like, what is my role, but also, like, what are my biases, right? Where does my values interfere with what I'm trying to think? Right. And then from there, I'm able to take my bias, and, like, when I'm judging, I'll take my bias and I'll leave it at the door. I sit in that chair and I just judge what's in front of me. Right. And the reason why I know I can do that, and I know I'm doing it correctly, is that when people come to me to question, like, why did I make that decision, right? And then they give me their reasoning of, like, why I should have been a different decision. I'll be like, well, there's a biased thought right there, and I'll tell you why I made my decision the way I did, and it's straight off of what was shown on the floor at that moment when it comes to, like, each category, right? Like, and so. Yes, there is bias, and this is what I don't like about when the new system came out. They sort of started to invite individuals to become judges that were not certified, and you can tell, but because everything gets recorded as a judge, you get recorded of the choices that you make, and you can see where judges were just couldn't eliminate that bias, right?
Mm.
And some of them weren't able to judge again. Others continued, but unfortunately, just that's part of the game of politics, right?
Right. Did you feel like judges were biased against you?
I think for me, the first system also took originality into account, and I feel like the second system was very much foundational and need to be like so. If once we switched the system, I had to adjust everything I do and
Right.
have to like become a different breaker in a way to like
Right.
fit into the system and to fit into the rules that are now different. So definitely like storm system was more to my liking because it accounted better for the bias. It like gave you points for originality, creativity.
Right.
Where the system that came after for me was a little bit like one-sided. Yeah, showed only specific side of the breaking
Okay.
and was not.
You have a very unique style. You add some contortionist.
Well, I don't think
style
so, but
to
it
well, it
flexible
kind of flexible,
ish.
right? But I mean, it's okay. It's okay. This is what it's all about. Breaking is all about being unique, right? It's adding your own personality and uniqueness. And then this is what we love what you do, right? Because you're different. You're not gonna look the same as any other big girl in Calgary, in Red Deer, in Edmonton. You know, we know Sasha. We know who Sasha Fox is. How is that for you? Like you coming in on stage and to the rounds, do you get a lot of lashback from your specific style?
I don't think I do get a lot of flashback, and I personally don't really care if I do. I kind of like just ignore it. I just do myself. But yeah, like when it comes to the Olympic system, I definitely had to change.
You
Like
had to
I
change
couldn't
that.
I couldn't do like what I would. How I dance definitely changed. Like things that I do at Red Bull would not work at the Olympics, right? So I definitely had to like show more like foundation. You have to like, if I don't do normally windmills in my regular homeschool like battles, then there actually doing windmills, flares, and some other stuff will give me additional points. And then if I don't do six step here, then six step here, then here I have to do it because again, like the system works that
You just have to learn the system to see what works.
you have to
what
learn the
fits in-
system,
in
yeah,
each.
yeah. And it's not that I don't know the foundation. I do. It's just usually like let's say at home I prefer to do like what I like doing, like which is flexible style tricks.
Yeah.
But again, like an Olympic system, you have to follow the rules in a way, and
Criteria.
you have to do like, you have to do certain things. You need to have top rock. You need to have footwork. You need to
course.
have power.
Musicality.
Yeah. And then maybe like less creativity to make sure that you hit all the criterias
Right.
in the. So it's again, it's first time in Olympics, so we get trial and error, right?
It's
So
a
I
little
guess-
hard, right? For me, as a b-boy, I mean, it would be hard for me to have to change who I am just to fit each box.
It
you
was
know?
hard,
I
yeah.
feel- you know what I mean? If I was in your shoes, you know, I feel like, oh, I have to change who I am for that. I mean, that would be something that breaking. Come on, like breaking has always been raw. Show who you are, no matter what style you do, and how flexible and karate, like whatever you want to add into your personality in breaking, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be super hard. What do you think is some of the pros about breaking being in the Olympics?
I think it creates this foundation that people can follow in order to then like get really into it, right? Like again, going back to like it gives a young dancer purpose, right? Something to work towards. But then as they do that, because the Olympics not going to happen right away, you're going to be connected to the community first, right?
Right.
And then it's up to the community to then draw them into like understanding breaking, understanding culture, understanding hip hop, right? And then from there, I think it does give more eyes. I don't know, like in this case, it didn't end up the way I thought it would because of the whole ray gun stuff, right? But there was a lot of eyes on breaking, and it did lead to conversation, right? But it
Do
was
you feel like something was missing though? Like the preparation towards being in the Olympics, breaking. People were expecting breaking. I feel like in the 80s, like people waving, like in the old school, how you remember, or older generations remember breaking, and you have somebody like Sugar Kicks or
Sugar Kicks, yeah.
Sugar Kicks like doing incredible power, and
Yeah.
people were like, "Whoa, what is this?"
right, 100%.
So I feel like people weren't ready to what was about to happen for some of the high level b-boys and b-girls in the Olympics.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. It was, I would say 95% of people when they were like, "Oh, breaking's in the Olympics," like they're gonna put cardboard out and like they're just gonna like
on
paw, yeah, right, yeah, and spin it on their heads, like and like, oh, or like you have like these old like older people that is like, oh yeah, I used to like break dance in the clubs and like I used to do that kind of thing. It's in the Olympics now. Yeah, so definitely. And this was part of my, when I was talking about like where WDs have failed, was that they did not take the opportunity, this great opportunity to showcase breaking across the globe, right? To really to get people interested and hype, because yeah, they were in for a special treat, especially like even like the networks that played it, like they just played it because that's part of the schedule, right? But then afterwards they really didn't showcase it unless it was a ray gun battle, because then that was getting the views. But ultimately in the end, like when you actually, if you actually watch the Olympics and you watch the B-boys and the B-girls, like even for myself, we've watched international battles, but I thought everyone stepped it up to this next level, and it was amazing to watch. And even for someone who's watched breaking all his life, I was watching it being like, wow, like that what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Not just because they're in the Olympics, but the actual content that they were doing was.
You have to understand it.
Yeah.
You have to understand what you've seen. Like, you know,
Yeah.
as a B-boy, as a B-girl, you can like, oh, wow, we know what it takes to do a move.
Yeah. And it
Like
was
that.
incredible. And then that's what I wish people had the chance to see, was that, right? Was all the rounds that the B-boys and the B-girls did. It was just like, man, like if they actually got a chance to watch that, then their perspective would have changed. And it would have
different.
been a different trajectory for breaking.
Do you think it would have been, it would have changed anything if the B-boys went first
Yes.
than the B-girls?
Yes. I think so.
Why?
I think so only because if the B-boys went first and they were able to showcase the B-boys across social media first, right? Not because they're boys. It's just because of the ray gun thing. Because what happened was because
Yeah.
ray gun was showcased first, and then the internet is powerful, right?
Yeah.
Fast.
Derailed.
Derailed it right away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
everything went on her.
right?
Like,
Because everyone was saying, "Oh, this is breaking, ray gun." They're like, "That's breaking." Versus like if there was all this footage of the B-boys
Yes.
going first and just being like, "No, this is breaking first," and people
And
would be
this is
like,
a joke.
"Whoa, look at Sugar Kicks! Like, look at this guy do 100 head spins, blah blah." Like like it's not the actual style, but like that's what people would be talking about,
Right.
And then when they see like, oh, ray gun like did this, and it'd be like more like, oh, okay, so this person. There's still be questions like, why is this person in the Olympics? What are they doing there, kind of thing, right? But it would have at least been like everyone else would have been like, but now we know what breaking should look like.
Yeah.
yes.
Versus like,
Especially people that don't know, never seen it before.
yeah,
You know, new generations, even older people, they don't know what they probably heard about breakdancing, but you know, they didn't see it. If you don't know what you're looking at, like the B-boys coming out strong, then the Reagan situation, then would have been I feel like it would have been a lot different.
A lot different.
Things would have turned different,
Yeah.
right? What are some of the cons that you feel like of breaking being in the Olympics?
The ray gun situation, obviously. It's like I had a workshop at Week Fest here in Calgary.
Right?
And then that's just goes to show you, like, people who never have anything to do with breaking, I come to the room, I open the door, I walk in, and the parents like look at me, and the first question I get, are you better than ray gun? So
Yep.
like I don't like, but I mean, this just goes to show like that people who never knew anything about breaking before,
Yeah, now they had that in their mind.
now they have like, really, that's their introduction, that's the question they ask, like, oh my gosh. That's a con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, for sure.
I think the con too was going back to what Sasha was talking about, like how it does mold you have to mold your style to the system,
Right.
And that's fine, like because you're trying to be an athlete, you're trying to achieve something, then yeah, you're gonna have to compromise, right? But that compromise is that. Luckily, towards the end, I loved how towards the end they were talking about like, well, we have these qualifying events, these are the Olympic events, but we need to also include culture events during those same times. So it'd be like, you have to do a qualifier, and then the next day they'll throw just a regular jam because they have all these international dancers all in one spot. And so like that was great. But like at the beginning that was lost, right? It was just like you fly out, you're a B-girl, you spent like thousands of dollars just to go, and you only get to do one touch, right?
Oh.
And then like what? And then after that there's no other event.
So
And
you're
then-
out.
and then
You're
you're out,
out, yeah.
and then you're just
Yeah.
watching, and
So
you're
it's
like,
missing the whole culture part of the important part of the culture is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the jams and being able to connect with other people.
exactly, yeah.
Do you think they're gonna have it next year? Like next?
At LA, no, that's
No.
already it's already unfortunately confirmed that they're not
Yeah.
going to do LA.
They're not gonna bring.
Yeah,
breaking?
LA. That's been confirmed. That's because it's up to the city. The cities that host the events get to sort of pick the events that aren't official, right? So LA already made that decision before the ray gun thing. They already made this decision.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is it's weird because that's USA. You know, that's that question. But
Yeah.
part of the reason is there's politics behind it. So there's something that happened at a bigger level, and I'm not going to speculate. I've heard,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to speculate because I don't know exactly what happened. But it had to do something with the organizers of that was involved with like planning the world events that lead up to LA. There was some sort of disagreement apparently. Some sort of something was said. So LA decided, no, we're not going to do breaking because they don't trust the commitment or something, right? I did hear though the one that's coming after that, so that's 4 years after that, they're thinking they're saying they want to have breaking in their Olympics, right? And that's like somewhere in Europe or Northern Africa. I can't remember which city is hosting the next one after that.
I think it's Mexico.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Somebody's talking about it, and they're saying that they want to make sure that breaking is there. So yeah, it just goes up and down right now. I think there's a good focus right now on Youth Olympics. 2025 this year is happening, Youth Olympics. So that's where I think if they can continue, because that's how they got breaking interested and breaking into.
Yeah,
it all,
we
right?
were in the Olympics.
Was the youth
Olympics.
the first Youth
Yeah.
Olympics years ago before COVID, right?
Yeah.
And that's what really, like, just watching that alone, like that was a
It was
spectacle,
crazy.
right?
It's incredible.
Right.
We had the opportunity to be in there with one of my students, and we went to Philadelphia to the qualifier. And then she made it to Japan, and she got cut there. But it was an incredible experience. I can tell you. I mean, it was surreal, which
Yeah.
and it's really cool. For a dancer from right there being able to travel to Japan to do this
Yeah,
is super cool, right?
right. So great opportunities for sure.
How do you guys feel like we need the community is missing breaking communities like cities for us to be able to push this even more and support our community better and provide them with more opportunities to be able to do this in the future?
As an organizer, and I'll say this is like one of my weak points. It is that community engagement beyond just like our actual community. Like, it's easy to engage the community that you're in because I've built that respect and response from them. You know, they trust me, so it's easy to get them engaged. It's just it's hard to get the broader community involved, right? Because you need their support, especially like whether that's private funding or grants out there. Like there's a lot of opportunities, but it's also then the effort. We need to be able to put in the effort to actually apply for these grants and then utilize them properly to help the community grow. I think we're also lacking within our community. We're just lacking, just like in general. Well, hip hop in general is like lacking that community.
How do we gonna bring it back together?
Like this is challenging. This is something that we've talked about so much. It's like back in the day, it used to be like throw a jam, but then at the jam there would be elements of other elements happening that brought other community members from like the MC community, the graffiti community, right? They just came together, right? Because it was a jam, right? And then from there we go from nowadays it's just like it's harder to be like people just don't want to even go out right after a jam. Like, oh, it's been a full day, I don't want to just go out and party now. I'm good, I'm done. And it's like, but that's just like how things are now, right? So I don't know, I think to bring people together, it is to like try to continue to throw events, you know, cater it to like the demographics. Like, you know, like we do Alpha Circuit, which is for developing the youth in our community, but then we should still throw jams that are just jams. Maybe it's not us to throw it, but encourage other community members to throw it, and then encourage the community to go to those events, right? Right. And just like and that's where you're developing the sense of community, right? And showing them like it's not just about breaking, like it's not just about ciphering, right?
Yeah.
It's about listening to good music, being around good people,
Yes.
and having something in common, right? But to be honest, like I can preach this kind of stuff, but at the same time, like as Breaks YYC, we're not doing it because we're intentionally trying to throw events that are trying to enhance dancers' skills and abilities. We're also
Right.
trying to throw events so that it gives dancers more exposure for themselves. As because we understood, like, growing up, there was maybe a jam once every 3 to 6 months in our city, maybe only once a year. To then when we first started to do like events, it was like, well, like I've always wanted events, so we just like bang, event, right? And we weren't really focusing on the culture piece. We're just
Culture
like,
part
we just wanted
is
to just,
missing. I feel like we need to come together, like the three cities. And I said this with other guests that I had and here keeping it real. But I feel like we need to come together and really bring that sense of community and jam with DJs. People can be free and dance, and I'm always here to support and to connect with anybody. I'm in the middle,
yes,
so I'm ready anytime. So
100%, yeah, definitely.
So it's awesome to have you guys here, and then for you to be able to share your experiences and the way that the Olympics have worked for the breaking community around the globe. You mentioned the Youth Olympics are coming back. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
How do the parents find information about that? How do the kids can get involved into the breaking community? You have any
Yeah,
input?
it's obviously followed WDSF because they threw their first national like youth battle back in early fall. So it's always about memberships. So then getting involved with your local body, getting a membership, but then just collecting points, just like what Sasha was doing. But you'd have to be willing to go to these events. The first event was in China, right, somewhere.
Yeah.
And like Breaking Canada released it to all the all the dancers that came out to like their national events and stuff, all the young ones. And it was up to the parents to decide if they were gonna send their kids out, right? And you'd have to go with your kid. So there is commitment there, right?
It's hard, right?
It's hard,
Because
yeah.
it's that you can't just pack up and go to China. And
No.
I feel like we missing that part, that we should have an event, in Central Alberta that is happening for these kids to have the opportunity to go to these.
Yeah. And I think right now, like I think for now, I would say for the most part, just watch what's happening first to see to get a vibe, and then just come in. Like if you really want your kid to explore that, I would just say start with the local events, because the local events will show you at the very least what level your kid is at, as well as then how to grow from that level, get connected with the community to grow more. And then if the Olympics or the Youth Olympics is a dream, then then that's where you can be like, okay, let's start making commitments, right?
Yeah.
We have a young dancer right now who's definitely trying to eye it, and he understands that he had to make decisions and choices to really put in, be like, okay, I'm gonna actually practice, 3, 4, 5 times a week,
And
this many hours, travel, but also I'm hiring private coaches and things like that. And so that's what they're doing, and those are the commitments. And they know that like down the road when they actually have to go to the events to travel, they're going to have to go and travel in order to gain points, in order to even just get some recognition, right?
Yes.
Because that's part of it too. You want to be recognized and be familiar to the people who are watching you, the people who are judging you, because then, as much as we talk about we're trying to eliminate bias, that's where the bias is, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've seen this kid before, and then be like, well, he didn't do good today, but I've seen him do better. Then it's just like, it happens, but it's just ultimately too. But going to events is super important, because when you go to events,
Right.
then you're actually learning and you're growing and you're constantly developing.
And you're putting your name out there as well.
Exactly.
People getting to know you, who you are, and it's very important. What do you have any advice for new bigger generations coming up?
B-girls?
Yeah.
Just don't be, I don't know, like don't be scared. I think that's I know that many people like, oh, okay, it's mostly B-boys. I'm shy to go in the circle and stuff. Just do your thing. Seriously.
It's supposed to be a male-dominated style, but I feel like big girls. I always say that I have 2 girls of my own, and I feel like they could be as strong.
Yeah.
And I try to encourage them that say, you know what, just because you're a girl, doesn't mean you can smoke somebody in the battle on the round. So
It's all about discipline, commitment, and persistence, really. So just, again, do your thing, be consistent, be disciplined.
discipline.
Yeah.
It's the
Go to
important one for
practice.
breaking.
3-4 times per day. eat well,
Three,
sleep
four
well.
times per day. You hear that
Oh,
right?
3-4 times per week. Sorry.
Per week.
Per week,
Yeah.
per day.
And then yeah,
Yeah.
really just yeah. There is not much difference, I think. When it comes to breaking, I think B-boy and B-girl can compete against each other just fine.
That's great. Lastly, what is do you have any pages you can share with us or with the parents they can see, they can check out some of the battles coming up? How do they keep in touch and inform about rounds and battles and
Definitely.
ciphers?
Yeah, for us, we don't have like a web page. You could go to the breaksyyc.ca, but that'll just lead you to our Instagram page, and that's where.
So Instagram is the what it is
Instagram is the place. The breaksyyc.ca. We'll share our local events, and then also when there's breaking events happening from other organizers, we'll share them in our stories and stuff, and keep everyone informed. Yeah, we're looking forward to a good 2025.
It's gonna be incredible.
It should be incredible. Yeah, like we've definitely slowed down. We're not doing events every month anymore, but like when we are trying to be more mindful of like making good events. So
Nice.
definitely follow along. But you'll also see us at the other events. Like if Pounded's throwing an event, you'll see us there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Medicine Hat to Edmonton. We also share their events because that's what
it's all about.
it is. It
It's
is about
unity.
getting everybody together, right?
Thank you guys. I really appreciate everything you contribute to the community and to the youth. And thank you for being here and sharing your experience about the Olympics and your experience with breaking and all that. Thank you so much.
Thanks
This
for
is
having
keeping it real.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.
It's great.
Sorry, is it okay that you didn't talk about Red Deer?
We talked about already.
A little. Well, you didn't really ask about like Red Deer. You mentioned Red Deer because you're in the middle, but is that okay?